Welcome to the FanDuel Hurry Up. I'm Ariel Epstein. Today we're going to talk about the Coca Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. To help me out, it's numberFire and FanDuel's own Jim Sanis. Jim, what do people have to know about this track?
Yeah, it's we actually have practice and qualifying again this week. So that's exciting. We had that last week too. More data to come this weekend, which means you do have inflection points for betting. But I think for the people we're talking about today, I would expect their numbers to shorten post practice on Saturday. That's why I'm trying to bet them now before we get the data of how fast they are Saturday morning.
Let's start with the hometown kid, Charlotte's own William Byron. You like Byron to win this race outright at 16-1. Why?
A big part of it is how good he's been in this package so far this year. He actually has a win already under his belt in this same package. That was back at Homestead, and that showed he has upside. And my model does still ding Byron a bit for upside because outside of Homestead, he hasn't really dominated races. But despite dinging him for that, he still shows up as a value to win this race. His implied odds at 16-1 are 5.9%. His win odds in my simulations are 7.3%. So good edge there. And Byron has shown that he can do it on this track as well. You mentioned the hometown narrative, but also he's had a top 8 average running position in 2 of the past 3 races here. I think he's a good value at this spot. I did want to look for a podium or a top 10 on Byron, but those numbers have been cut down quite a bit because of how consistent he has been. So to me, if you want to bet Byron, I think the best way to do so is via the outright at 16-1 right now.
Speaking of consistency, back-to-back top 5 finishes in the last month for William Byron. Going over to some top 10 finishers, Austin Dillon plus 200 to finish inside the top 10 at Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend. Why do you believe this is the week that we could see him dominate at Charlotte again after winning back in 2017?
Yeah, definitely. And not just the win in Charlotte last year, but also he won in Texas last year. And Texas is the sister track to Charlotte. They're both configured the same way. And the reason he did that is because his team is really smart about tires. And on low wear tracks like Charlotte, I trust Richard Childress Racing to be able to out-strategize other teams. We saw that last year. Dillon had a top 9 average running position in both Charlotte races. He won in Texas, had a top 10 mark in the second Texas race as well. And he's looked good this year. Had a good run in Atlanta, which is the same configuration, different tire wear. So Dillon really blends a lot of things. The course history you mentioned, not just with the win, but also the 2 good runs last year, the history at Texas that he showed last year, and also good current form. That all matches up really well. I think that both the Childress cars are very interesting this week. Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick, but the longer number is with Dillon. I think Dillon's actually a little bit better from a top 10 perspective than Tyler Reddick, so I'll take Dillon at plus 200 to get a top 10 again this week.
Dillon's been on a little bit of a top 10 drought, hasn't finished inside the top 10 since Talladega back on April 25th. However, Jim says the drought is ending this weekend. One more top 10 finisher, you like Matt Benedetto. It's plus 225. Benedetto has never finished inside the top 10 before at Charlotte. Why is he doing it now?
He's due, obviously. You know, if there's a first time for everything. But with Benedetto, my simulations actually see a massive gap between the number here and where he's simulated at. He is a 31% implied odds here at plus 225, but the odds he gets the top 10 in my simulations are 42%. I don't see gaps like that very often. Maybe double check my number because I was kind of shocked to see Benedetto be that much of a value there, but it makes sense. You know, if you look at my projected average running position, he ranks 11th there. He ran really well in both Las Vegas and Atlanta. Las Vegas, another low tire wear track similar to Charlotte. So to me, that's a key indicator that he could run well once again this weekend. I just think he's undervalued at plus 225 to finish top 10. I don't think he has the upside to win this race. That's not something I view as being a possibility for Benedetto, but a really good run possible. Finished 4th in Kansas a couple weeks ago. To me, plus 225 is just too long, and I would expect him to be fast in practice on Friday night. So if you like Benedetto, I'd say bet him now, and this is my favorite bet on the board for this week, Benedetto top 10 at plus 225.
I love it because Benedetto also went on a hot streak towards the end of April, ended up finishing 3 different times top 10, 2 top 5s. That was at Richmond, Talladega, and Kansas. For Jim Sanis, I'm Ariel Epstein. That's your FanDuel Hurry Up. Thanks for watching.